And I'll also do the same. Yeah, pretty much.
It's coming down. That's just there so people can see that they're in the right place.
Yeah, you're.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. I can sleep behind the phone.
Freaking out at all.
I'll make sure I don't. I think there's a chance of, I think there might be a chance of plasma. That's what I'm saying.
I just realized I stayed this one week. This is. What? Well, it's also the tree that's going to fall apart. I might not be there either. I lost this last night and I wasn't looking for it. I found it.
And you love something, said it's free.
Yeah, I don't think that's anything to do with it. I lost arts extremely including this.
Yes.
You know the picture concert. Last time everybody, all the people were performed for that. His mom was the athletic director of softball coach in high school. He's from Southern California. And throughout the first stage, the guys, they returned because of his family.
It's something you ran for. You should finish it.
And 13 nothing.
But actually, I'm glad that
And the whole Angels outfield stuff is corny. When you're honoring somebody different who brings together that event, it's just something really cool about that. I mean, it was just really special.
So one thing
Farmers set up a fight.
Wait, I would think the biggest factor outside the scene is how much they get used to. I don't know how good baseball, but there are a million things I think.
And during the
Nobody's freaking out.
Excellent, thank you.
LA now has about 60 ballparks. San Diego is interesting. They park the first rate car or something like that. Yes. I've been there once. I went to Chicago once, like 10 years ago. And the Friday night, the Angels played at the White Sox. Thursday night, the Galaxy played the Chicago Fire. And Monday night, the Padres played. Not the Dodgers, but these are California teams. And all ballparks had 6 people. It was really cool. They're all 6 of them.
Last I checked. Last I checked.
By the time the check shows up, I really enjoyed Oh, I like that. Yeah.
The one is even further from how big the other.
This looks like just a divider rather than a wall.
Yeah, I'll just use my.
It doesn't matter
Jeffrey, I have 10 hands. What's the order?
Use the microphone. So do I yank that away or?
I will when we're done, when you're ready. At the moment, the mic is off because I didn't want 20 minutes of people just walking in.
Is there another microphone? Great, okay.
Those are for the floor.
Great.
I don't know if we have like somebody to run them around to ask questions, or if we want to lay them out on. In charge of that.
Are you busy?
Not really. I'd like to keep an eye on the thing to see if people are saying, we can't hear or stuff like that.
Everyone has to use a microphone. That's my rule.
No, I meant.
Oh, on there.
Watching.
Oh, okay. So,
no, I absolutely agree with that. Everyone needs to use it. Surprised there weren't stands.
What's that?
I was surprised that there weren't like 2 stands for the microphones just out on the floor for people to go grab.
Yeah.
Do we want to try that? Or I could text him and ask him.
I mean, the meeting should have started already, so I don't know. If
Right, but he's just downstairs.
Oh, okay.
What is this for?
Live stream. The live stream to the members who can't be
I was wondering, like,
I suppose. Oh, is that a presentation? Gotcha. I don't have it. I'm not a computer. Well, I set this up. I understand. I know where you're going. Let me know when you want to start.
Oh, it's right in my face.
Hey, people everywhere around the hotel who are not here. I mean, hustlers everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Having breakfast, the computer, doing their phone, solving problems. Should we drag them in here? That's why I'm asking.
Oh. What are I mean, they're aware. So do you think we're...
It's only 5 after. You can just wait.
Okay. Oh, great. Okay, excellent. Thank you. That's the real thing with me. I can't hear anything. Okay. Just sorry.
You should be able to hear my.
Oh, okay, great. That's what I want.
Of course. Yeah.
Do you see me on that? So everyone's over there.
Yeah, that's good. Tell you what, I'm gonna make one sweep around,
Okay.
tell people the business meeting's starting.
Wills is going to do a sweep of the hallway to find any stragglers who might want to come, and then we will begin. Sounds good. I heard myself.
Hear them well as well.
That's great. Hear the stamps.
So you should be fine. If you find that's happening.
And I've got somebody watching St. Olaf's this afternoon.
Oh boy. Okay. So no.
No, I try to make sure they sign up.
Okay, good. That's crazy. That's so crazy. Let me know when you're done.
The first question is, I assume something.
I'll ask. I get everyone I can. I'm sure there'll be some more people coming in.
Okay, that's fine. Yep, I'm used to it from teaching. Okay. Are you okay if I start while you're still working?
I am good to go.
Okay.
So you're good there. I think he's got to get the stream started, but if he's giving you the thumbs up, then we're good there too.
Okay, that's right. He's gone. Okay.
I can snag Kevin real quick.
Thanks. Oh, he's right there.
Okay.
Are we good to go? Okay.
If you could let George Roth know that there will be he will be able to use the laptop that the hotel is going to set up.
Okay. I don't see him, but
Oh, he was here.
yeah, he was there.
All right. And if you see him.
Hello. I should do this more often. Welcome. The date is Saturday, July 13th, 2019. The time is 10:14 a.m. and I hereby call the business meeting of the 180th NPL convention to order. Thank you. I'm Jeffrey, your president. And welcome to everyone who woke up in time, showed up for the meeting, and welcome to everyone on the live stream. Thanks to Quest, whom the live streamers can't see. We have our first ever live stream, so we're glad you could join us. Since this is the first time we're doing it, sorry room, I'm staring at a camera. This is the first time we're doing it, so we will not be scanning your comments, except if you can't hear or see, Quest will take care of that. And your votes will not count at this meeting. We don't have a way to do that yet, but this is very experimental and we'll reconsider that in the future. So now that I've said that, I'd like to present Expelliarmus to summarize the minutes of last year's meeting.
Hello. I've been trying to whittle down how much I say every year. So here's the bare bones of last year's meeting. Okay, so in Milwaukee in 2018, President Folger called the meeting to order at 10:04 on July 14, 2018, 125 members present. I summarized the minutes, much like I'm doing now. Jeffrey read the treasurer's report, which basically said things are about the same. We're still slightly in the black. Wills reported that Donkey, Capricorn, and Webcat had all passed away in the past year, and we gave them a moment of silence. Techie gave the editor's report, the usual spiel about thanking people and asking for weird puzzles. Kaz gave the webmaster's report. He said that in the last year, Omnom had joined the web team. They migrated their repositories to a better service. They improved their deployment process and started using an online task manager, and that their current work was focused on switching to full SSL for security, using Stripe to process online payments, adding functionality so you can renew your membership through the website, and other things. Then we moved on to old business. Slick and Spark Owl spoke about the code of conduct. They had researched other code of conducts, wrote one for the NPL, had it reviewed and modified by the board, had it reviewed by a lawyer, And they said that the next step would be voting to approve it in the fall ballot by the full membership. New business. Cryptogram talked about the 2019 Con in Boulder. Yahoo! George Groth rose to propose DC in 2020, noting that he could wait a year. Hale proposed Toronto in 2020. Then Dev Joe moved the 2020 Con be in Toronto, which was seconded and approved. Foolju then discussed the proposal to make webmaster an elected position, which the board voted unanimously to put on the fall ballot, but also unanimously hoped that you would vote against. The discussion continued about how we could increase accountability and transparency in the website progress and modifications, including having regular reports in the Enigma. Foolju then said that he and Mercury would both be stepping down, adding that 890 and Jeffrey would be on the ballot for their positions in the fall. There was thunderous applause for WXYZ and ABCD, and then we adjourned the meeting at 11:24. That's all.
Thank you. Now, Will's with the historian's report.
Hi. First, I'd like to acknowledge progress in digitizing the Enigma, as announced in the Enigma. I'd like to thank Jabberwock and Jane for the bulk of the work in scanning old Enigmas. And I'd like to thank, yes. And I'd like to thank Kaz and Omnom for uploading the files to our website. I'll also tell you that Kaz and I are working to digitize all the convention programs back to the start of the modern era in 1976. And currently, I think they are on the website back through 2006. Now, during the past year, we have lost a number of members. As you know, we lost Banterweight, and she was a regular convention attendee from 1988 to last year, lover of cryptic crosswords. Quip, who hosted with Poi the 1990 convention in Clearwater Beach, Florida. He was the co-cryptic crossword editor of the Enigma for a while and also secretary from 1993 to 2000. Arachne was a cryptic composer, half of the renowned Hearth cryptic composing team, three-time winner of the U.S. Open Crossword Championship. She was a regular con attendee in the 1980s and early 2000s, and as many of us remember, she attended last year's con in Milwaukee. So Do I was an attendee at many cons from 1997 to 2017. Lilith attended 12 conventions from 98 to 2009. Phil Helene was a member for nearly 40 years, and a brief member, but an important person in the puzzle world with John de Cuevas, cryptic crossword composer, and a member in 1978, and again 2001 to 2002. So I'd like to have a call for a moment of silence for these lost members. Thank you.
And now 890 with the treasurer's report.
Good morning. I'm 890, your treasurer. I'm told this is the first live in-person treasurer's report there's been in a while. My mantra has been, whatever Mercury did, do that. So I'm going to try to keep this short. So the NPL balance was $25,862 as of June 30th, 2019, not including convention accounting. That puts us still in the black, obviously, but it's about $3,000 lower than our balance 1 year ago. I think much of this is attributable to a little reduction in donations, so I just want to remind everyone that donations to the League are tax deductible in the US. We encourage and are very grateful for any charitable dollars you can send our way. We understand there's a lot of worthy organizations competing for your charitable dollars, and we appreciate when we make your list. I particularly want to extend some thanks to German, who gave us a very generous donation on behalf of So Do I, who we all miss very much. We are in the works to implement a system to make it easier to donate, as well as renewing for multiple years right there on the website. You can renew on the website now, but we want to implement more ways to do that. Our total membership count is, as of today, 727 members, including some who signed up just this week. That compares to, I believe, 720 reported by Mercury at this time last year. That number does fluctuate. New members are signing up all the time. On the subject of membership, I do encourage all of you to renew your memberships promptly before they expire. Whether you do it directly on the website, by PayPal, send me a check, come up to me at Con right now and give me a check or give me cash. I will accept it. Please just don't put it off. Once you see that, please renew on your envelope, or you get a reminder in your email from me. Please do it promptly. That puts more money in our coffers right away. Yes, Craig?
Can we renew for more than 1 year at a time?
You can renew for more than 1 year at a time, and we encourage you to do so. That puts more money in our coffers early, and that's always great. My thanks and congratulations to Cryptogram for putting together this wonderful convention. I worked with her a lot on accepting your con fees and getting that all organized, and she was a delight to work with. She's wonderful. Thank you very much, Cryptogram. Some more people to thank for making my job easier. I want to thank Kaz, who has done a lot of work to implement Mercury's membership database that he had homegrown over the years while he was treasurer, trying to bring it to a system that I could use and keep track of all your information and get it to the printer in time to get your Enigma to you promptly. And so thanks to Kaz, my job is much easier. When you renew via the website, that automatically updates your membership record and extends your expiration date, all of that stuff. That is all thanks to Kaz. That saves me a great deal of work. And finally, I have my unending thanks to Mercury himself. He has given me a great deal of help and guidance and continues to do so. Transitioning into this job was so much easier than I feared it would be. And he's really helping me learn the ropes, and he continues to give me great guidance and advice. And that is it. Thank you all. Unless there are questions I can answer. Yes?
Sorry, wait. There are microphones on the floor over by you and over here. You must use them or I will not hear you and the people on the website will not hear you.
Do you know if the NPL has a Smile account on Amazon?
The question was whether the NPL has a Smile account on Amazon. It does. That is, and if you do shop on Amazon, not everybody does, but if you do, you can set up smile.amazon.com, follow the directions, and that will show up on the site. And whenever you make a purchase via smile.amazon.com, a little money will come our way without any additional cost to you. So yes, we do have an account there. It is, and we do get, a fair amount of donations that way. Anything else? Thank you all.
Seconded.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You can't do that with an unaudited report like that. She's just making a report.
But you do have my iPhone, so please return. I left it up there for the time to make sure.
The secretary's report, since we skipped that part. Yeah, you move to accept it and then.
Oh, please use the microphone because I cannot hear you.
Move to use the microphone.
She said we need to move to accept the secretary's report.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about missing that.
I'd move to accept the secretary and the treasurer's report, which typically, unless there are you can ask if there are objections to them,
And if there are none, they can be accepted by acclamation.
Okay, so from my experience, there's a motion and you second it, and then there's a discussion, and then there's the approval, is that correct?
Second.
With the report, you can ask if there are objections to them, and if there are, there's a discussion, and if not, you can, by acclamation.
Okay, sorry, before that happens.
We aren't accepting the report, we're voting to approve the minutes.
Okay.
Right. Yes, correct.
I've actually read all of Robert's Rules of Order.
Thank
Don't
you.
do it.
Yeah, I realize it should be on my Kindle, but it's not yet. So let's just reset that a little bit. Do we have a motion to approve the secretary's minutes? Motion to approve. Second. Okay, discussion, objections, anything else? If so, please use a microphone. No? Okay, let's vote. All those who raised their hands are voting to approve the secretary's minutes, and you cannot see, but there's a lot of hands up. So yeah, we have approved the secretary's minutes. Thank you. And the treasurer's report, do we have a motion to, are we accepting that? Yes, motions, lots of motions. Any seconds? Okay, even more of those. Great. Discussion, objections, donations. Okay. So all those who approve, please raise your hand. A lot of hands. Okay, great. And that has been accepted as well. Thank you for the first time. If I mess it up again. Okay. And now we're ready for Techie to give the editor's report.
And you don't have to approve it because it's just me talking. As usual, I'd like to thank all the people who make my task look hard, but it really isn't. And because they do all the work behind the scenes and send it to me to pass on to you. In order to get the things to you, first, I'd like to thank your daughter, whose creativity and speed of construction and response time, short as it is, has been an amazing help to me all year and has made getting the issues out a very quick process. And I should thank Big B, who takes the back end of that. And when I send out a PDF file to her, she sends it to our printer, and our printer gets it out to you, and it's all done without my having to sweat about it at all. So thanks to her in her absence. And to Kaz for the equivalent for the website management. We have worked out a very consistent pattern, and it is easy for me to get things out on the website so that you guys can get your paper copies that way too. Now, on the other end of the thing, the way to build it gets built up is that I have a group of sub-editors who do most of the heavy lifting for me. Bittner for the flats, Joe the Loiterer for the forms, Vrew for the extras, Zimu for the cryptics, and Lexman for the cryptograms. They make my life a lot easier because they catch a lot of the things that are potentially problematical before they even get to me or to the test solvers, who I think I probably should thank as much or more than anybody else, because they will pick up the things that get by the sub-editors and me every time. And then my errata list is only that long instead of that long. So as well, I should thank the folks who are doing the post-facto stuff about it, particularly the Golden Sphinx Awards each year. This year, I have been less involved in it because the group has been so good, and that group is Jabberwock and Sue++ and Dev Joe, who go through the last year's issues and do all of the collation and calculations and put together the ballots and send them on to Kaz and gets them on the website and everything gets calculated and we come back and I get to put on a tuxedo and we have a fun time at dessert tonight. So thanks to all of them. And in closing, I will say again what I said last year. I used to say send more puzzles. Now we're getting a lot of puzzles. So I don't really have to beg any longer. I will say that too many of the puzzles that we've received are from guys. And I would certainly like to see others involved. So if you have learned how to do flats yesterday at this meeting, send me some. If you have a bright idea and you want to write a flat, or then maybe you don't feel comfortable about that, let me know and I'll find somebody who will help you build the flat. That's what we like to do here. That's why we have combinoms. So that's one side of that process. The other side of that process is that I've had a number of folks during the con come up to me and say, how come we don't have more puzzles like we have at con? You know, I like this kind of puzzle. Oops, sorry. And I would like to see more of them so I could do them the rest of the year. And I said, that's a wonderful idea. I can only print what people send me. So if you would like to try a new kind of puzzle, please do. We'll call it an extra. So send it to extras@puzzlers.org and Brew will take a look at it and communicate with you and make sure that it's something interesting and get it back to me and we will see what we can put in. We also have had a bright idea that says, why don't we have some mini extravaganzas in the Enigma? And we've had a few, but we need more. So if you have an idea for an extravaganza that could work on paper and in the usual style, 4 or 5 different puzzles with a meta puzzle at the end, work with the folks, Squonk and Brew at miniganza.puzzlers@puzzlers.org. And maybe as we go on into the new year, we can extend and improve the range of the enigmas. So help.
And now we bring Expelliarmus back to talk about the code of conduct.
Okay, me again. Okay, so we have spent a lot of time trying to beef up our code of conduct stuff in the last year. You might remember the discussion of it from last year's meeting. And following that meeting, we had put it on a ballot, not the specific wording of what that should be in the code of conduct, but just that we have a code of conduct. So that passed the fall ballot. And so we got to work taking your feedback, which was that you wanted a public forum for sharing more ideas about what needed to be revised in the code of conduct. So we opened up a Slack channel in the winter of 2019, and lots of you chimed in, and we got to take all of that feedback and make some revisions to the code of conduct that was posted in the fall. The big changes that we made based on your feedback from Slack were adding a committee. So instead of having the board be the oversight body for taking in complaints that we get, we have a separate committee. And that's kind of a safeguard against abuses of power, theoretical abuses of power from the board. We also required committee members to recuse themselves if they're ever involved in an incident or there's the perception that they have a bias. We tried to change the language to include it, to make it clear that people who were in the space but not members are also covered by the code of conduct. So we want the code of conduct to apply to everyone who's in our spaces, both online or virtual. Okay, so following these changes, the board selected committee members. And I want to thank the committee members who have volunteered their time to help with this. That's, of course, Kazik, Cute Mage, Hale, and Saxifrage. Thank you so much for helping add this necessary and belated addition to the conference. So our work that the committee has been doing since we've been formed is to create ways for you to report incidents. Right now we have an email address that you can contact us with, and we have a web form that Kaz put on the website for us. And our future work includes adding documents to the website, including an FAQ. And if you have any questions about how we are planning on operating and what our guidelines are for responding to incidents, send them into the code of conduct at puzzlers.org address, and we'd love to address any of your concerns. Yeah, so we're gonna try to work on beefing up what's posted on the website, and that's all from me, but I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any about the code of conduct. Thank you. Are we done? Okay, thanks.
I have one more thing to say.
Okay, Techie would like to say one more thing.
I forgot one person in my thanks, and I shouldn't have. Quicksilver, pick your own vowel, does all of our solutions lists, counting and reporting, and he's so far away sometimes I forget. In Australia, in fact. Huh? Philippines. I'm sorry, Phil. I knew that. He's in the Philippines, and I forgot to thank him, and now I have.
Thank you. Now, Kaz, you're getting up. Okay, with the web manager's report, you're okay.
Whatever you want to hear. Good morning. So I want to talk first about two things the web team didn't do. One small, just so something Expelliarmus said isn't misinterpreted. The Code of Conduct Committee created a web form, and I just put a link to it. And the reason I'm mentioning that is they created it, which means that the web team does not have access to anything that's in that Code of Conduct form. It's owned by the committee. We just have a link. And we do some things like that occasionally because, you know, privacy in the center is important, and we don't want to accidentally violate it, especially in something like that. That's one thing we didn't do. Another thing we didn't do is that Postmaster Alaraf did a tremendous amount of work to fix problems with our email. And I helped a little bit because AOL and Earthlink are evil. Actually, it's not so much the AOL and Earthlink are evil, but they're used by spammers so much that it is hard to get email to and from AOL. I know people who have AOL, you don't notice that, but you are not noticing some mail you don't get. And you're not noticing some of this mail you send that doesn't arrive. So I encourage you to switch. But aside from that, we didn't want to force anyone to switch, and so Alaraf did a ton of work. And I think people just assume that the email will magically work, but in fact, he's done a ton. And the other thing is, if you have a problem with your email, I get, you know, probably an email or two a week about their email, and it's like Postmaster, not Webmaster. So public service announcement. Okay, stuff we did do. Member database, we're at 98% done in porting that. 30 years of database craft for anyone who knows databases, it adds up. So we're close. Online payments, stat here, 243 con registrants, 3 physical checks. Not bad. Maybe we'll get rid of those next year. And So let's see, we're gonna add a shopping cart in the next year, which will make donations easier, multiple registrations easier. A note on A90 said register early. So suppose you wait until the 29th of the month to renew your membership. Two things happen. First, A90 has sent 2 emails to you already, which she has to do by hand. And then in addition, you're now an extra add-on to the labels that she's already sent to the printer. So when you renew early, and there's a convenient note giving you registration every time you sign in, that will be added to every website, not just the login website. She doesn't have to send the email and your labels in the regular batch. So A90 didn't mention how much work she does, but wow, she does a lot of work. And even though we've been able to streamline it for what she does relative to what Mercury was doing, it is still the case that everything we all can do to lessen her workload would be a good thing. So public service announcement. Puzzle database. We uploaded more than 200 puzzles from a variety of years back to 1998. Wills rescued a file off of a floppy. Thankfully, didn't send me the floppy, but in PageMaker format. I had to figure out how to convert that. But we managed to get a 1998 con program up there. And if anyone else has any other puzzles from 1998 or any other year, the long-term goal is that if we don't preserve this stuff, it's lost forever. And so any puzzles you have, particularly PDFs from any year, 63, your birthday year, whatever, would love to have them. And if you don't have a PDF, I can take scans. We're going to be putting up scanning instructions for optimal scans. Let's see, we have a video channel with one thing on it right now. We didn't plan on having a video channel a couple weeks ago, but we have one. So if you have any video puzzles or even a flash puzzle, we can convert that. Might as well do it. Those will be secret URLs, which means anyone with the URL can visit them, but they're not searchable. You can't find them. Let's see, some traffic stats. Since last Sunday at 10 a.m., every hour, question.
Oh, please use the microphone. I can't hear quick questions as badly as I can't hear long questions.
Thank you.
Are you asking for unofficial puzzles?
Oh, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. Any puzzle. So there's a variety of categories. There's official handout puzzles. There's official puzzles like the physical things we've had last night and the night before. There are the con cryptics. Those are official also. There's any handout you've done here. Happy to have them. And then there's another category. There are a few members that would prefer links, and so we don't upload those. We do a link. When we have a puzzle like that, we also save an archive copy, so that I'll give Ukuvu as an example. He's got tons of cryptics, but 100 years from now, I bet he doesn't still have that site, and so we save that puzzle, so it's in the archive, but we link to his site because that's his preference. So anything you have, we have a few photo puzzles. We have lots of PDFs. And audio puzzles work too, although I don't think anyone recorded Music Man, so that's life. Okay, let's see. Some stats. I'm going to do stats. So every single hour, 24 hours a day since 10 a.m. So literally 4 a.m. this morning, someone was on the website. It's kind of impressive. Con info page has been accessed 800 times, more than 800 times. So that's like 3 per person. And the puzzles page, the download puzzles page, which only has 4 puzzles on it, has been accessed more than 300 times. So just think if every puzzle here was on there. So please send them. Traffic, it's interesting. Traffic increases globally, not just in Colorado. So we have a lot more traffic for people who aren't here. I didn't look at this last year. So that's kind of interesting. So maybe it's because they're going to the puzzles page. I don't know. Okay, thanks. I have a lot of thanks here. Omnom, DevJo, LogSign are the other members of the core team. And then there's a whole bunch of volunteers who've helped with porting content, less technical work. And that is B-Side, Bayo, Brillig, Capital R, Discaran, Joe the Loiterer, Papa Yagi, Quicksilver, Song Lean, and Thwap. And as it in the Enigma, I'll call out B-Side, who did a bunch of work both this year and last year for the con info on the website. So that was very helpful. And then also, we can't post things unless we have them. And Jabberwock scanning all those enigmas makes a big difference. So we have them forever. We can't lose them. And let's extend this as much as we can to everything else. So speaking of thanking volunteers, we can use more. We could use some people to be primary editors for some areas, like for example, game rules. So a whole bunch of game rules up there. We're missing some. And not only that, some rules might not be quite perfect. So having someone who's the primary editor for that would be great. I'm using the word editor, and it may be that this is partially guide work, partially editorial work, we'll see. But having someone responsible for the web content would be useful. And there's a few other things like that. So you don't have to be a programmer. But if you are a programmer, we're at a point where we can have people pull out one section and do that independently, pretty independently of the rest of the site. So couple examples. We're going to be doing some stuff with grids so that the grid system is way easier. And having someone who would step up and do that, that's an example. Another thing is I would love a CSS guru. I'm okay at CSS, but having someone who really loves that would be great. Solving and construction tools, that's a fall task. And if anyone would like to, I'm heading that up. If anyone would like to help me with that, that would be great. So summarize, fun volunteer opportunities, fun. And I've heard this before, but send more puzzles. So thanks.
I guess 890 would like to say something.
I just want to say that since I've received 2 renewals via the website, thank you very much.
Now I wonder if they were from within the room or thanks to our online community. Nice. Okay, so now we are up to new business. First, we will talk about, Hale will talk about 2020.
Hi, everyone. I am beyond excited to host, with the help of Eddie and Fraz. Beyond and I are beyond excited, with the help of Eddie and Fraz, to host next year's NPL convention in Toronto. Now look, I don't need to sell you on this. It's happening in Toronto and you're gonna come. But I know there will be questions, and so I'm gonna attempt to cover some of them anyway. But this is not a pitch, even though it's gonna be amazing, so it will sound like one. Also, I considered putting a handout, but in the interest of paper savings, I didn't think it was necessary. You can take any notes you'd like. I'm gonna send some, pretty much everything I'm saying now will be in the Enigma. So should be good to go. Contario is the name of the convention. It will be taking place from July 9th to 12th at the Chelsea Hotel in downtown Toronto. Like legit right downtown. Like it's
Go Chelsea.
This is where the 1991 convention took place. It was called Delta Chelsea back then. It's Chelsea now. It underwent a significant renovation in 2013, so it's actually quite freshened up. Those of you who were there may forget, but you might notice differences. It's a huge hotel, 18 elevators. We have a large ballroom. a whole bunch of sizable breakout rooms, 24 hours, the whole deal. Great garden space outside, which is where the picnic would be held. The Chelsea prides itself on attentiveness to a variety of dietary restrictions. This is a conversation I made sure to have, as every con host does. And so that's something that, rest assured, will be well taken care of. For kid-friendliness sorts of stuff, the hotel has a kids center with supervised programs. If you want to bring your family, this is the sort of thing that's really nice to have. There's a teen center which has like ping pong and foosball and whatever games and things. There are 2 swimming pools, and I did the conversion here, 130-foot indoor corkscrew water slide, which is unparalleled. It's the only one in Canada. I don't know if you have them in all these hotels here, but in Canada, it's a big deal. There's a huge parking garage. Parking will not be a problem at all. And it is right on the subway line, which is an amazing deal. You've got access to the city with no issue at all. Which is a good thing because there are dozens and dozens of escape rooms, which no worries there. Fraz and Eddie, I believe, will be putting together a little guide or a list of escape rooms just to get that out of your way, so you don't have to worry about that. The room rate is $209 US per night, which is today $160 US, or 209 Canadian, 160 US. I haven't finalized the numbers yet, but $250 US will give us an extravagant convention that may approach this brilliant one we're experiencing right now. That is an approximation, no motions to hold me to that or anything, please. And make sure you have your passports figured out. If you don't have your passports, this is something you do need for our Canadian convention, so please make sure of that. I'm going to relentlessly remind you of that because I know some people need that, I do. That's all I have prepared. What questions do you have? Please go to a mic and I'm happy to.
Not knowing, of course, exactly how many members we'll have, do you have an idea about how many rooms they'll give us so people aren't scrambling to find rooms?
That's a great question. For those who didn't hear, it's about making sure we have enough rooms. When I initially dealt with the contract with Chelsea, I had a certain number of rooms set up. I've been in constant contact with Cryptogram, who, in addition to all of her duties, has been making sure to help me with my preparations. And I learned that I didn't have nearly enough ready. So with the knowledge of this year's numbers, I reached out, I had a quick call with my contact at the Chelsea, and they significantly bumped up our room count for the same rate. It's a giant hotel and they're able to do that. I have a great relationship with them. So the number of rooms I have right now will happily cover this year's attendance, plus an expected growth. So I have no concerns there.
Does the giant parking garage have a charge, and if so, what?
Does it have a charge, like for a
parking fee?
Oh, okay. I'm very environmentally minded. I do not know the answer to that, and I will take a note to get that for you. What other questions do you have? Great. I can't wait to have you all.
If 2020 doesn't sound futuristic enough to you, we decide we now open up to con proposals for 2021. Do we have any con proposals for 2021? I see 2 hands. Okay, that's George Groth and your daughter. So we have, okay. And does either one of you have a preference for who goes first? George Groth, okay, we have a laptop if you need it. And,
yeah.
No, he's ready to support you.
Oh.
I'm on standby.
Really?
Pardon me.
It's not a big deal.
Do you have like flash drive or something that you want to put it up on? Yeah.
It's not such a fancy. She's a demonstration.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I couldn't find you. I was doing Where's Waldo?
Yeah, if you want to sing a ditty while I'm doing what you want to do. If you want to start talking off to the side here, you can. Oh, let me get that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it needs some water up to these comments. So I put this on a different drive because it's formatted, which is not good. It's formatted with penalties. So I may not have
Yes,
this
okay.
working.
Hale would like to give an update.
Parking for guests at the Chelsea Hotel is $36 a night for guests, Canadian, so like $5.
Yeah, unfortunately, without formatting it and rotation again, we won't have it.
Hello. Sorry, it's not a Mac, so it's not going to work. So, the presentation would be very simple anyway. This is for Washington, D.C. I proposed this a couple times and I've deferred a couple times, and so I'm looking forward to 2021. Now, it's hard to imagine that I would need to sell DC as a destination to people because there's so much to do there. Now, we are in close proximity to people you may not want to be in close proximity to, but you'll never notice, so that's not an issue. They're never there anyway. So don't worry about that. But I thought that 2020 would probably be a bad year for to be in DC. So I thought 2021 would be the right time. So instead of selling you on the idea of the city, I hope I will go straight to the hotel and those sorts of details. Now, the hotel I've spoke to the most is Westin City Center Hotel. It is for people who know the city, at M and 14th and Massachusetts Avenue. They all three intersect at this location. It's not built on top of a metro station. Metro station is several blocks away, 2 blocks away, I think. But it is certainly considered to be metro accessible. We're about 10, 15 blocks, depending on where your destination is from the mall. So it is a downtown thing, but it's not right on top of the mall, which is why we can get affordable prices. Now, right now, I asked about July 4th weekend and the rest of July, and the pricing is different. So for July 4th weekend, the 4th this year, 4th that year will be on a Sunday, unfortunately, for people who want to get home for the 4th. If you don't want to get home for the 4th, it's pretty spectacular. So, but for that weekend, the room rate is $129 for single and double, and $139 for triple and quadruple. Okay. The prices go up about $40 for the rest of July. So that would be $169 for double and $179 for triple quadruple. Okay, which I think are fairly good rates. So, and again, at this early stage, I really can't give you the cost of the rest of everything else. But I've talked with them. Now, this is the 3rd time I've talked to them, so I'm getting to know them pretty well. In any event, but if for whatever reason the city appeals, but the location doesn't appeal, I mean, it's like between DuPont Circle and the White House, right about there. If the location is appealed, of course, I'm willing to go back and beat the pavement and find another hotel that might have better rates or something else that you desire. We don't have a contract with them, of course, but they would like us to sign a contract in the near future if we want those prices. So what can I tell you beyond that? I'm really looking forward to this, and I think it would be fairly enjoyable. I guess I should wonder, by the way, let me almost ask for a show of hands, how many people think it's important to be in walking distance of the mall? Or how many people don't care? As long as they get to a metro station, that was.
I think that's the no.
How many people don't, if you're responding to the second one, how many people don't care that you're in walking distance to the mall? Okay? But being walking distance to a metro station, are these people also? So you're assuming, I guess what you're assuming is that if you're not walking distance to the mall, you would at least prefer to be walking distance to a metro station. Okay, good. Well, this location is walking distance to a metro station, so that's not a problem. The transportation is, of course, going to be easy because we have a downtown airport and we have Union Station. All of these things are connected to the metro. Everything should be extremely easy for travel. And of course, it's an Eastern convention, and we haven't had one on the Eastern Seaboard, so that might attract some more people. Of course, we haven't had one on the West Coast either recently. So, but I think this is what we are hoping to have, I hope. And any questions? Yes.
Please use the microphone.
I am using a microphone.
You are.
This is kind of two questions in one, but you said after the July 4th weekend, the rates go up. I'd be curious how much, and also beyond that.
$40 a night.
Would you be straw polling us about which weekend we prefer?
The rates are all the same for the rest of July. Okay, she did everything.
Would you be polling the group as to whether they want the July 4th weekend with the cheap rates or another weekend with higher rates?
I will definitely be doing that.
Okay.
I know you mentioned the downtown airport, which I'm assuming is national that
Yes.
you're talking about. What's the status of transit from Dulles? That's much more important for people coming from the western half of the country.
The metro doesn't reach Dulles at this point, but they have built a station much closer to Dulles, so they're working that way, and so the transportation to the metro from Dulles is much cheaper and much easier than it used to be. Yes.
Same question as before.
Same answer.
No, this is about your hotel. Are there sufficient rooms to handle a group of this size?
Yes, it's a big hotel. It's, I don't know, maybe 20 stories. I didn't ask the specific question for the number of rooms, but actually I might be able to say, she said 180 rooms. And in our preliminary email, she said 180 rooms was easy. I don't know how many rooms we're using this weekend. We have more people than that, of course, but we may not be using more than 180 rooms. So that's partial answer for your question, yes.
So this isn't a question, but before the straw poll, I've been to the national fireworks on the right in front of the Capitol a number of years ago. It's pretty cool. And so if we were July 4th weekend, there would be the evening after con. And some people might want to stick around and do that. And you have to go many, many hours early to actually get in. So, but that's a bonus to that weekend.
Oh, yeah.
More traffic, but that's a bonus.
Or you can take the metro.
No, I mean, there'll be more people around that week. Tourists.
There'll be more. I don't know if people come from out of town for the fireworks, but certainly the locals come in great numbers. We can assume because we're getting a better rate on the 4th, they actually have fewer tourists. Yes.
Since the airport's so close to the hotel, is there an airport shuttle from hotel to the?
Well, there's not much call for it because the metro goes right through the hotel, right through the airport, more or less.
Sometimes when you're carrying a lot of luggage, though, it's difficult.
I am sure there's a shuttle, but I have not made use of it myself. I mean, they have a lot of ground transportation, as you might expect. Okay, so I don't know about these straw polls. I don't know if we should take a vote first and then use straw polls second. Which way? Right now? Do straw polls now? Okay, so how many people would have pretty much made up their mind that they'd much prefer not to be on the 4th? Some other weekend in July is preferable for them. All right, that is not a lot, but not nearly a majority. I'll just ask the other question. How many people think that July 4th is a real option? That seems to be more. We have somebody coming toward the microphone.
So I suggest asking the opposite questions as well. For those who said they did not want the July 4th, would they come anyway if it was the 4th? I mean, you know, they like would prefer not the 4th, but if it was the 4th, they'd still come, right? Well, and for those who voted not to do it the 4th, would they still come any other weekend?
Before you leave the microphone,
who would come on the 4th? Who would come on the 4th? So what he said was simply ask, if it was the 4th, would you come?
Okay.
Regardless of your preferences. And if it wasn't the 4th, would you come regardless?
If it was the 4th, would you come? Thank you. No, it was.
And if it was not the 4th, would you come?
Yes. If it was not the 4th, would you come? There's a certain point after which I can't process the logical intersection of all these votes.
The question
Principle of
is, if it
inclusion.
was the 4th, how many people would not come?
Well, that's 3 people. All right. Okay. Any other things you want to do a straw vote on? I guess we already did a straw vote, but since we're being very careful here, I guess, let me phrase it very carefully. If it was not in walking distance of the mall, would you come? If it was not in walking distance of the mall, would you not come?
Can you define walking distance?
Well, it depends on where your destination is. If you're going to the White House, it's like a 5-minute walk. If you're going to the mall, it's like 15-minute walk.
This is not dispositive, or I don't think this would make anyone's decision, but just sort of minor food for thought. For those interested in baseball, I believe the Washington Nationals make a point of being home during July 4th weekend. The con tends to end, late morning or midday on a Sunday. Sunday tends to be day games, and they're not going to be on ESPN the night of Sunday competing with the national fireworks. Also, I would submit that for those who care to stay for the fireworks and or the baseball game, a return flight on Sunday is almost certainly more inexpensive than on a Sunday when people are trying to get out of town, and therefore would to some degree presumably offset the cost of a further night. I like Sunday. Okay, excuse me. I think everyone but me understood what I meant to say. Just trying to point out that a return flight on a Monday would to whatever degree offset the cost of a further night in the hotel on Sunday. I'm done. Thank you.
The National Park is a beautiful park, and it's metro accessible. Any other questions? Well, I hope to see you there.
Thank you, George Gross, for your bid of Washington, D.C. Your daughter? 890 has something to say.
This is really on next.
Can you just ask people to say their noms when they step up to the microphone?
Okay, please say your noms. Even if you're asking a question, please say your noms when you step up to the microphone, because they will go into next year's minutes, and we'd be happy to see your nom then.
Yes, please.
Okay. Morning, y'all. I'm your daughter. I've got handouts that I have cheerfully informed people that they will be passing out on my behalf, and thankfully they decided not to argue with me. Yeah, I'm so cheerful. And I haven't had any coffee. So I am proposing New Orleans 2021. I have cheerfully nicknamed it Kambalaya, technically Mosaic named it Kambalaya, and I liked that. I have 2 hotels for possibilities, but I will tell you now that George Grove's DCs beat my prices, so something to consider. And do y'all want me to just start talking while the handouts are going out, or do you want me to wait for a moment? Okay, okay. So I've got 2 hotel options. On the back side of the handout, when you get it, I have 2 little maps. One of them is an inset of the French Quarter so that you can see where the hotels happen to be, provided your eyesight is as good as mine, so I apologize to everybody. And the other one is the location of the airport in relation to the hotels in the French Quarter. So the first hotel that I'm going to talk about is the Sheraton New Orleans. It's on Canal Street in between Chartres and Decatur. So if you know New Orleans and the French Quarter, it's literally right across the street from it. The problem is it's a Sheraton, so there's not necessarily anything interesting about it. It's got over 1,100 rooms. We have more than enough space. This is important when I talk about the other hotel. My biggest complaint with the Sheraton is that acknowledging that, yes, I did go do a site visit on Memorial Day weekend, which is, yes, a holiday weekend, absolutely nobody at any of the Marriott properties was willing to meet with me. We will not be a priority if we stay at the Sheraton. But other than that, it's a Sheraton. It has everything. It's got spaces for us to hang out. The rooms are perfectly fine. There are single king beds. There are 2 double beds. Yeah, it's Sheraton. We've all stayed there. The hotel that I'm very excited about is the Junk Hotel. It's about a 10 or 15 minute walk up Canal Street from the French Quarter, so there's a bit of a distance involved, but it is literally across the street from a streetcar stop. So if you do not want to do a 10 to 15 minute walk, then you can just hop on the streetcar, go down. I think the streetcar is $3 for a day pass, but I have that in my detailed notes somewhere else. My contacts there are so super excited about having the NPL there. Y'all, they have geeked out. It is incredible. I love it. The hotel has 207 rooms. So with a group of our size, we have a chance to potentially rent out the entire hotel. This would be awesome. The hiccup with the hotel is that they cater to business travelers. So they have 207 rooms, 49 of which have 2 queen beds, and the rest are all single kings. So I am in negotiations on prices. None of the numbers in here are final by any stretch of the means, but more of the crew would have to be willing to pay for a room to themselves. I suspect we're willing to share a room, but we're not necessarily willing to share a bed. The hotel of the Jung is absolutely fantastic. The restaurant on site is incredible. It's not your standard hotel restaurant. They do outside catering for larger events, so $8.90. I have been assured they have vegan desserts. And the lobby of the hotel is kind of a weird T-shaped thing, but it's got 13 nooks around the sides. So there's tables and chairs and sofas and whatnot. They're all separated by curtains. So we already have like little mini breakout rooms that we can go talk and solve puzzles and whatnot, not disturb anybody the next nook over. The drinks are generous at the hotel bar. Hay floor, unfortunately, the bartenders were women, so I cannot provide you details on the hotness, but I'm sure they have some.
I think that's a more trusted cake after me.
Okay. They had this pink thing, and I don't know what it was, but it went down fantastic. Let's see. And I cannot flip all y'all off, so yeah, just shut up now, and I hate everybody. But there's the concern with the number of room breakdown and then the cost of the rooms. And on the last page, I have all the costs. We'll get to that in a second. It's New Orleans. There is a ton of stuff to do. I have a very detailed list of which Murdoch pointed out that I'd forgotten to include any of the music stuff on there, so sorry about that. Cafe Du Monde is open 24/7. Coffee and beignets 24/7, y'all. The city itself is actually remarkably family friendly during the day. At night, yes, it does tend to drift a little bit more towards the stereotype that we all know and love about New Orleans French Quarter. But with that said, we're all in the hotel doing stuff at 8 o'clock at night, and we're not necessarily venturing out of the French Quarter. So there's a ton of stuff. If you've got kids, there's absolutely no problems bringing them to New Orleans. The bad part of this, yes, the weather, it will be hot and humid, everybody suck it up. It will probably rain. It's on the coast, it will probably rain. There will probably not be a hurricane. Yes, I know there's one going on right now, which is really inconvenient for my pitch. But there's that. Average high is 91. For those of us that are international, I'm sorry, I forgot to put Celsius on here, so I looked it all up last night. 32.8, average low 75 or 23.9, relative humidity 76. Yes, you'll feel the humidity in your hair will frizz. In contrast, the current Boulder weather is high of 87 or 30.9 with 30% average humidity, so there's a bit of a difference. The city after dark, yes, people get drunk and stupid, but really the most thing you have to worry about, women in your purse, is there are pickpockets. Public smoking and drinking, it happens. You can get a roadie in the French Quarter. And then the sidewalks aren't necessarily the best for a couple of reasons, but also too, the French Quarter is the old part of the city. So if you have mobility issues, then you will need to watch where you step or just take Lyft or Uber wherever you go. Transportation, Lyft and Uber is everywhere. It's really not a problem to pick up and go. There's the streetcars if you want to get around the French Quarter or go out to the front Garden District or head up to the cemeteries. The airport serves pretty much everybody. Have the lift there. It's about 20-30 minute drive in from the airport to where the hotels are, and the hotels do not have hotel shuttles, so I will preemptively answer that question. That's like a New Orleans City thing. That's not like a hotel thing, and it's a very weird logic behind it. So the things to do page, yeah, feel free to go through and look at all of that. I just wanted to highlight the Audubon Nature Institute, which is absolutely fantastic. The Tales of the Cocktail is in July sometime. They do not yet have a date for July 2021, so there's a chance we may overlap with that festival. The Louisiana Children's Museum is just finishing an expansion this year. The National World War II Museum, Woldenberg Riverfront Park, which is up and down the Mississippi, and the Preservation Jazz Hall. So if you're in for music, which is all the stuff that I left out of my pitch. And then the cost, which is what I'm sure we're all probably concerned about. The Jung, I am in negotiations with them because I really hope that they'll end up playing ball, but I've got the taxes and the fees and the breakdowns. I am assuming with this that if you have a 1 king bedroom, then it's just you in the room, but I acknowledge that there are couples and people are willing to share beds, so y'all can figure that out. Estimated con fee, I ballparked basically off of the catering. The catering I took for each hotel's options, literally their cheapest option and literally their most expensive option, and then I just averaged it. Personally, I think you're in New Orleans. I don't want to feed you, go eat. You're in New Orleans, please take advantage of that. But if you would prefer to stay in the hotel, then obviously there would be catering of some variety. And did I have any other? Oh, all of my numbers are based on 250 people for those that want to do the math. Let's see, did I have any other notes on here? Oh yeah. So one thing I will mention, because I did have one crew member tell me that they were going to mention it if I didn't. We as the NPL do tend to be politically on the liberal side, which personally I think is fantastic, but no offense to those of you that run conservative. Louisiana did pass a heartbeat bill. However, the heartbeat bill is on hold until Mississippi's heartbeat bill goes through the court systems. The Mississippi heartbeat bill is currently looking at by a federal judge who really hates it and already rejected the lesser conservative version of it, so I don't anticipate it passing. But for those of you that are concerned about politics and you would not necessarily want your money to go to a state that supports something that you do not support, there is that. Questions? Okay, please come up to the mic and say your nom.
Hello, Aardvark. Are there any suites in the hotel?
Yes. There are executive suites. There's one floor. I forget how many suites there happen to be, and I forget what the bed breakdown is, and I have all of that in my notes. The Sheraton, of course, is a Sheraton and has, I mean, you know, literally every option. So, yeah.
Hi, I'm Tortoise. I have 2 additional questions about the hotel. First, for the king rooms, would there be the option of requesting a cot in those rooms if you want to have 2 people?
There is not.
All right. Second, how many floors are in the hotel? I know you said the elevators are an issue.
There are, so the top half of the hotel is like long-term residences, like kind of more rent an apartment for a month type deal. So I think the hotel itself is like 2 through 9 or 2 through 10, and then like the top floors are the residences part of it. But yes, the hotels, the elevators are a little slow and small. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So.
Hi, Kazik. This is a clarification question, up to you whether you want it to become a discussion.
Okay.
It sounded like you might be able to have a convention package without catering required for all attendees. Is that a correct interpretation?
So it's correct. We usually do the food and beverage and catering because one, it's convenient, it's helpful, you know, we're here in the hotel and it's there. But also too, frequently with hotels, if you have a minimum food and beverage, then you get all of your event space free. So we can not provide catering, but then we would still have to pay for the event space. I have no idea how much that would cost because I personally don't want to provide no meals. I just think that breakfast is kind of useless because most of us don't eat it anyways. And also you're in New Orleans, y'all. So does that answer your question?
It does. So I just want to clarify that we should not be looking at these prices and thinking about, oh, what would the convention fee be if we reduced some or all of the meal? We should not assume that, right?
Yeah, please don't assume that. This is the notes on there for numbers are literally just notes. Right now, this is what they've offered. We're in negotiation. It may be more, it may be less. But ballparking it for it would cost about this much. That's why it's there.
Can I jump in because mine's related to that?
Yes.
Spelvin. So the catering chart here has the sort of high-low range, and then I noticed it has the alternate column without breakfast, which is significantly cheaper.
Yeah.
My question is whether the estimated con fee ranges reflect the with breakfast option or the without breakfast option.
Without breakfast option.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Dave. The question is, in the case of the Young, is there another hotel across the street with double rooms for people if we run out of space?
So the Jung Hotel is kind of stuck in between the theater district and the biomedical district. New Orleans is actually surprisingly still recovering from Katrina. And the biomedical district is the one that's currently undergoing their renovations and upgrading and gentrification and whatever it is that they're doing with yourself. Right now, there is not another hotel that's across the street like this type of a situation. There may be in the next couple of years, I just don't know. There was a lot of construction going on. You can't quite tell what some of it is.
And this is a question for Cryptogram. Do we know the distribution of how many rooms, king rooms we rented versus how many double rooms?
Please use a microphone.
Cryptogram, I can actually answer that question because I emailed her asking for this for my pitch. Cryptogram does have that information. She gave that information to me. I'm sure we can provide it to anybody who's interested in pitching. We just don't have it off the top of our head. I think it was about a 50-50 split. It's relatively close to that.
Raw, idea for dates?
Oh, yes, we have the dates for the 11th through the 18th of July, 2021. The Wednesday is the 14th, and so the official con stuff would start with the picnic on the Wednesday. Well, I think that's technically unofficial. And then Thursday, the 15th, and go through the weekend.
Hi, I'm Music Man, and I recently stayed in New Orleans. I ended up staying at, I think, the Residence Inn by Marriott. And Sheraton, of course, has recently merged with Marriott. Paid about $50 a night for overnight parking. Did you get a cost in case anybody wants to rent a car at the airport and maybe use their car and stay at the Sheraton? Any idea how much it would cost either at the Jung or at the Sheraton?
Not a clue, for which I apologize.
Oh, okay.
Probably because it's New Orleans, somewhere in the vicinity of $30 to $40 a night. But that may be a negotiable thing. You know, we either get so many free cars and then please just don't get one if you don't need to type of a situation, or maybe we can have it or something like that.
Got it. And just one comment about you had a lot of the things in New Orleans to do. There's also a lot of wonderful side trips.
Oh, yeah.
Sparrowhawk, do you have a copy of this?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm sure there must be a mistake, and I just want to make sure that probably the con fee number is right. Your tax line and your con fee lines are identical, which seems incredibly unlikely that would be the case. So I assume one of them is like a mistake or something.
The taxes and fees under hotels?
Under the catering at the bottom area, there's total tax, NPL attendance con fee. The tax and con fee lines are identical.
Yeah, so the tax percentages they gave me, the NPL attendance is when I multiplied everything by 250, and then the con fee is when I divided it all by 250. So yeah, that's there. And I probably should have left out one of those lines, but I took this out of my spreadsheet that I was using for planning purposes and just copied it directly in there. So
okay,
yeah, that's all that is. So.
Raw again. Uber, Lyft, other public transportation?
So there's taxi cabs. There's not really a public bus system to get to and from the airport per se, but it's really easy to get all sorts of public transportation around the French Quarter itself.
So going around town?
Yeah, going around town is easy. Getting to and from the airport is a little bit more complicated. So. Any other? Yes.
Daniel, I think Jumbo brought this up on the NPL discussion a week or two ago when we were planning Confidence, and I think New Orleans is probably The ideal place for doing this, we arranged to trade some breakfasts for a late evening hot snack.
Ooh.
And that's something you might consider in your negotiations.
Okay. So if there's no other questions, I just want to say, oh no, sorry, there's one more.
I'm Songleen. Not a question, but I think I went to New Orleans during the summer, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. And from the airport, there's a flat charge by the cabs to get to any hotel downtown.
Yes.
So that they don't charge you up or anything.
Yeah. Yes, good point. Okay, so now if there aren't any questions, I hope you vote for New Orleans, and if you do, then we'll end up doing a ballot like we did with Beacon about what hotel do we want to stay at. So we'll make that decision at some later point. Thank you very much.
Thank you, your daughter, for your bit of New Orleans. Just to inform, it's getting pretty late, so I'm going to move this along, and now is the time when we vote. And when I say we, that's everyone in this room, but not the board. We will not be voting. Okay. Or the people online, that's why I said the people in this room. Okay, so Wills will be counting the votes, and by show of hands, who is voting? Is there a question?
I want to add some information about.
I can't hear you.
I look at the parking rates.
Please speak into the microphone.
Taz, I looked at the parking rates for the 2 hotels. I was just going to address the question that was asked. The parking at the Sheraton in New Orleans is $46 a night, and at the Jun is $32 a night.
Thank you so much. Okay, and I'm sorry once again. Do we have a motion to vote for the con host in 2021? We have motion. Okay, second the motion. All right, great. So for 2021, by show of hands, who is voting for Washington, D.C.? That was count of 72, okay, and now by a show of hands, who is voting for New Orleans? Okay, so by a vote of 72 to 38, the 2021 National Puzzlers League Convention will be held in Washington, D.C. Congratulations to our growth, and your daughter, thank you so much for your bid, and we hope you will bid again. Okay, and now Techie would like to speak.
As I announced in the Enigma several months ago, I am retiring as editor as of the end of the year. I am hereby nominating Bittner to be my replacement. I expect all of that applause is for you and not me. And since and if you folks vote for him as your new editor, he will not be the Flats editor any longer, and we have imposed on Hale to take over that role. And so there will be a ballot in the October issue, as usual, and we will need that because there is another issue that we need to handle. It is pretty much cosmetic, but it is kind of important because the current bylaws say that the annual dues are $18, which isn't true. Because the annual dues now are multi-level. There's one for being a member and getting a paper copy of the Enigma, another rate for being a member without a paper copy, a rate for the international folks, and a rate for people who want the large copy one-sided pages. So we need to change the bylaws. And the bylaws say that you need to have a vote to change the bylaws. So I would like to move that we put on the ballot a measure to change the bylaws to say that a particular number is not stated any longer, and it will be replaced by the board will determine the dues structure ratified by the membership at the annual business meeting.
Second.
Is there a discussion? Yes.
I don't think we should ratify it at the business meeting. I think either the board should be setting the dues on its own, or it should be a vote by the membership. Not everybody is here.
It's on balance.
Interesting point. Whether should it be? We do want to make sure that people get a chance to accept it. The part of what I had in mind when I made this particular structure was to avoid having a ballot every year.
I will state that my personal preference is for the board just to handle this and avoid the vote. I think it's very unlikely that the board is going to ask for, say, $50 a year for no good reason.
What do you mean? I'm retired.
There's a simple alternative which says the board sets it, and if N% of the membership asks the board for a vote, then you have a vote, and that's probably never going to happen. And that officially makes the membership responsible, but delegated to the board.
Another alternative would be to only ever have a mail ballot in case of a change. The board wants to change the dues.
Oh, absolutely. I think that was an assumption on my part. The idea of making it a board-only task with the negative reaction possible is another way of doing it.
Could I ask for a straw poll? How many people actually care that the membership can overrule the board?
All right, those who do care, those who would expect the membership to accommodate any change the board makes. I make a positive statement about every change to the dues. Yes? Huh?
Clarify.
What I'd like to ask, let me say it again. How many of you would prefer that the membership was actively involved in any change to the dues levels? Okay. Actively involved meaning having a vote either by ballot or at the business meeting.
But if there is a discussion, of course, we will listen to you.
How many of you would allow the board to have the full responsibility for setting the dues? There we are. Okay, I will make that the way the ballot reads that comes out in October. And I should say, all the board positions are eligible for candidacies. So if any of you wants to attempt to unseat any of us, you are free to do so by letting me know, and I will put you on the ballot. That is, and certainly that it will include the editor's position, which is, by the end of the year, officially open. I don't know why anybody else would want to do the editor's job, but that's another issue.
All right, we are, question, yes.
I'd like to make a motion to express gratitude to Taki for 10 years of being editor.
Point of clarification, I have been an editor for 10 years, but one of those was as Flats editor. So it's only been 9 years as the official editor.
I withdraw my motion.
We are running into lunch, so I'm gonna get it really quick. Yes, it was 9 years, I did check. Thank you so much, the board. As you know, there are 3 new members and I'm in a new position, and I was, not really concerned considering who the people are, but it has been so wonderful being president of this board. You guys are amazing. I had a list of things I don't have time to say. Thank you so much, and thank you all for allowing me to have this position, and I hope to hold it for a while now. Thank you so much, and do we have a motion of any more questions? I can't hear you, so yes, that's what I was going to do. I was just waiting for the questions. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Thank you. Seconded. It is 11:38. The business meeting has adjourned.